how the FBI destroys people like Trump. The FBI has a history of being a lawless intel agency who has perfected a way to destroy people. How they do it has been newly described by an Occupy activist. The FBI has always seen the necessity for doing that as part of its mission. It has historically labeled movements like the Trump movement subversive, a threat to the social order, which it sees as its mission to protect. During COINTELPRO, they tried to bring down the women's movement, the civil rights movement, even going so far as to make Martin Luther King Jr. commit suicide to keep things the way they have always been. In the FBI's perverted, sick mind, the Trump movement is akin to terrorists. You have to bring them down, destroy them, neutralize the threat it poses to the status quo. As the Occupy activists said, they do this by studying the person they want to bring down and devising a strategy, the best way to neutralize them. In Trump's case, it was easy. They saw his extensive dealings with Russia, by Don Jr.'s own public admission before Trump's election, and it decided it could use that to get Trump impeached and discredited. In the last couple of days, they have started doing something similar to me. Like they always do, they studied me, their target, a prime U.S. government gang-stalking whistleblower. What they saw is I make extensive use of credit cards. While with their U.S. government gang stalking, they have been unable to bring me down, to neutralize me, in the last couple of days after studying me, they have decided they would attack my use of credit cards. I went to Lowe's, bought a faucet. A couple of days later, contacted the man at the plumbing desk to have it installed. I gave the man there my Lowe's credit card number. He read it back to me to make sure it was correct. Then he told me the number I gave him belonged to a former Lowe's employee who had closed the account. Not true. But who has the power to change credit card records? Yesterday, a couple of days after the Lowe's incident, I made a $43.91 purchase at Walmart. At the register, I tried to pay for it with my bank debit card. Declined, even though I had over $600 in my account. When I called my bank, the person there told me these things can happen. It happens when communication between the bank and the store fails. The signal gets interrupted, she told me. Now, who do you know who has the technological ability to do something like that? Comey seemed unusually off his game, not himself, before the Trump election. First, he uncharacteristically signaled there would be no further investigation of Clinton. Then he interrupted the flow of our electoral process again, telling us new information had come forward and Clinton would indeed be investigated for it. Interference with the electoral process was the cry of the people. But as the Occupy activist tells us in her video, this is standard operating procedure for the FBI, who tries to take down new parties, new movements, whistleblowers who try to upset the two corporate party swamp apple cart, where only the corporate Democrat and corporate Republican Party are allowed. Otherwise, the FBI studies you, decides, as they did with Trump, perhaps after going one way, let Clinton win, then the other, let Trump win, and then we can take his movement down once and for all by using what they discovered through studying him, his Achilles heel, Russia, to have him discredited and perhaps impeached. The Occupy activist said the FBI will try to make you do something illegal to take you down. The meeting with Don Jr. and the Russians is the kind of thing they set up. And as the Occupy activists said, they do these things as part of their strategy to take down opponents to the status quo, often way before an election. When I first started to expose gang stalking, a leader of one of their government disinformation groups, posing as a gang stalking support group, tried to get me to buy a stun gun to defend myself, he said, from the gang stalkers. Raise your hand if you think a stun gun is legal in California. America is in deep trouble. Go after deep state, our lawless intelligence agencies, and as they did to members of the Church Committee who investigated COINTELPRO, they will go after you at the polls to discredit you and make sure you never get elected again. For average citizens like myself, COINTELPRO, which we never completely learned about because our intel agencies destroyed documents and obstructed the Church Committee Senate investigation to the best of their ability, never ended. Today, all that has to happen to you is you are victimized by a sociopath fireman using suspicious activity reports and a group of friends, and our intelligence agency's effort to take you down begins. Many have said our intelligence agencies have never really made the case with facts for Russia's interference in our elections. What is going on seems vaguely reminiscent to the emotional frenzy that drove us into war with Iraq on false information. We need someone now to investigate the investigators. For a government gang stalking target, it is outrageous that the two men who would be in the driver's seat in U.S. government gang stalking, a COINTELPRO-like program, former FBI directors James Comey and Robert Mueller, would be the two key players in the possibility of the undoing of a democratically elected president. Russia, our intelligence agencies tell us, is a threat to our democracy. What an investigation into government gang stalking, into the neutralization of the Trump movement by our intelligence agencies might show is that the Senate committee called the Church Committee who investigated COINTELPRO are the ones who had it right. Our own intelligence agencies are the real threat to our democratic way of life.